The Trump administration dropped a bombshell on the state of Maine. On April 16, 2025, they filed a lawsuit. The target? Maine's policy on transgender athletes in school sports. The lawsuit claims Maine is breaking federal law. Specifically, they say it violates Title IX. This law bans sex discrimination in schools that get federal funding. The Trump administration argues sex means what you were assigned at birth. They say this means transgender girls shouldn't compete with other girls. This lawsuit is a major escalation in the fight over transgender rights. It puts Maine right in the middle of a national debate. The lawsuit is about more than just sports. It's about how we understand gender. And it's about the rights of transgender people. The Trump administration is taking a hard line. They're saying their view of gender is the only one that matters. This has angered many people. They see it as an attack on transgender youth. Maine is ready to fight back. They say they're protecting all students. And they're not backing down from a fight. This lawsuit could have a huge impact on the lives of transgender kids across the country. The legal battle is likely to be fierce. Both sides are deeply invested in the outcome. The Trump administration is determined to enforce its interpretation of Title IX. They see it as a matter of fairness in women's sports. Maine, on the other hand, is equally determined to defend its policy. They see it as a matter of protecting the rights of all students. This lawsuit is a microcosm of the larger debate over transgender rights. It's a debate that is likely to continue for years to come. The lawsuit has already sparked outrage and anxiety. Transgender students and their families are worried about the potential consequences. They fear that a ruling against Maine could set a dangerous precedent. It could embolden other states to enact similar policies. This could lead to further discrimination and marginalization of transgender youth. The stakes are high, and the outcome of this lawsuit could have far-reaching implications. Title IX is a landmark piece of legislation. It was passed in 1972. Its goal? To ensure equal opportunities in education. This includes athletics. The law states that no one should be excluded from participating in any educational program or activity. And this participation shouldn't be limited based on sex. For decades, Title IX has been hailed as a victory for women's rights. It's led to a surge in female participation in sports. But now, it's at the center of a heated debate. The Trump administration's interpretation of Title IX is sparking controversy. The Trump administration's stance is clear. They believe sex in Title IX refers to biological sex at birth. This means they do not support transgender girls competing in girls' sports. They argue this would give transgender girls an unfair advantage. And they say it undermines the progress made under Title IX. This interpretation has drawn sharp criticism from LGBTQ+ advocates. They argue that it's discriminatory and harmful to transgender students. The debate over Title IX highlights a deep divide in American society. On one side are those who believe that transgender rights are human rights. They argue that transgender girls should be allowed to compete according to their gender identity. They say this is essential for their social and emotional well-being. On the other side are those who believe that biological sex should be the determining factor in sports. They argue that this is necessary to ensure fair competition. The future of Title IX hangs in the balance. The outcome of the Maine lawsuit could have significant implications for the interpretation of this law. A ruling in favor of the Trump administration could embolden other states to adopt similar policies. This could create a patchwork of laws across the country. This would make it difficult for transgender athletes to navigate the world of competitive sports. The Maine lawsuit isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a broader attack on what the Trump administration calls gender ideology. This term is used to describe the recognition and acceptance of transgender identities. The Trump administration has been rolling back protections for transgender people since 2025. They've issued a series of executive orders targeting various aspects of transgender life. These orders have sparked outrage and fear within the transgender community. One of the most controversial orders is titled Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports. This order directs federal agencies to enforce the Trump administration's interpretation of Title IX. It essentially bans transgender girls from participating in girls' sports. This order is seen by many as a direct attack on transgender youth. It sends a message that they are not welcome or accepted in their gender identities. The Trump administration's actions are fueled by a conservative agenda. This agenda seeks to limit the rights of LGBTQ+ people. They believe that traditional gender roles are under attack, and they see transgender identities as a threat to these roles. This agenda is out of step with the growing acceptance of transgender people in American society. It's creating a climate of fear and uncertainty for transgender youth and their families. The attacks on gender ideology are part of a larger pattern of discrimination. This pattern targets marginalized communities. It seeks to limit their rights and freedoms. The Trump administration's actions are a reminder that the fight for equality is far from over. It's a fight that requires constant vigilance and advocacy. the transgender community is resilient and determined to fight back against these attacks. They're working to ensure that their voices are heard and their rights are protected. The relationship between President Trump and Maine Governor Janet Mills has been frosty, to say the least. Their differences on LGBTQ+ rights, particularly regarding transgender athletes, have fueled a series of public clashes. The tension reached a boiling point during a White House meeting in February 2025. Trump, never one to mince words, directly confronted Mills about Maine's policy allowing transgender athletes to participate in sports according to their gender identity. He warned her that if Maine didn't fall in line with his administration's stance, federal funding could be on the chopping block. Mills, known for her unwavering commitment to progressive values, refused to back down. She defended Maine's policy, arguing that it protected the rights of all students, regardless of their gender identity. She made it clear that she wouldn't be bullied into discriminating against any group to appease the Trump administration. This heated exchange laid bare the deep ideological chasm between the two leaders and set the stage for the legal battle that would soon erupt. Following their confrontation, the Trump administration made good on its threat. A series of funding cuts aimed at punishing Maine for its defiance sent shockwaves through the state. The USDA attempted to freeze school lunch funding, a move that would have left countless children hungry. The Department of Education slashed $250 million in K-12 funding, jeopardizing the education of thousands of students. And in a particularly aggressive move, the DOJ yanked over $1.5 billion in grants from Maine's Department of Corrections, citing the state's transgender athlete policy as a violation of Title IX. Mills, however, refused to be intimidated. She denounced the funding cuts as blatant retaliation for Maine's stance on transgender rights. She vowed to fight tooth and nail to restore the funding and protect Maine's autonomy. Her defiance rallied support from across the state and beyond, turning the battle into a symbolic clash between state rights and federal overreach. Section 5, Bondi versus Mills, a legal showdown with national implications. The lawsuit against Maine thrust Attorney General Pam Bondi into the spotlight. Bondi, a staunch Trump ally, became the face of the administration's legal assault on transgender athletes. In her public statements, she repeatedly emphasized the need to protect women in sports, framing the issue as one of fairness and level playing fields. She argued that allowing transgender girls to compete with cisgender girls would disadvantage the latter group, echoing the administration's line that transgender girls have an inherent physical advantage. Bondi sought an injunction against Maine's policy, aiming to block it from being enforced while the lawsuit played out in court. Her aggressive legal strategy signaled the administration's determination to make an example of Maine and deter other states from enacting similar policies. Governor Mills, on the other hand, emerged as a fierce defender of Maine's policy and a vocal critic of the Trump administration's overreach. She framed the lawsuit as a blatant attack on states' rights, accusing the administration of attempting to impose its narrow ideology on the entire country. She argued that Maine was well within its rights to enact policies that protect all students, including transgender youth, from discrimination. Mills's unwavering stance turned her into a hero for LGBTQ+ advocates and a lightning rod for conservative criticism. She refused to be cowed by the lawsuit, vowing to take the fight all the way to the Supreme Court if necessary. The legal battle between Bondi and Mills became a proxy war for the soul of the nation, pitting those who champion inclusion against those who seek to roll back LGBTQ+ rights. Section 6. Voices from the field. Student athletes caught in the crossfire. As the legal battle raged on, the voices of those most directly affected by the controversy, student athletes, began to emerge. Transgender athletes across the country watched the developments in Maine with a mixture of anxiety and hope. Some, like Sarah, a transgender track star from California, felt a deep sense of validation seeing a state stand up for their right to compete according to their gender identity. Sarah, who had faced years of bullying and exclusion from sports, saw Maine's policy as a beacon of hope, a sign that things were finally changing. Others, like Michael, a transgender wrestler from Texas, felt a surge of fear and uncertainty. Michael, who had always dreamed of competing at the collegiate level, worried that the Trump administration's lawsuit could jeopardize his future. He feared that a ruling against Maine could embolden other states to enact similar bans, effectively shutting him out of the sport he loved. The controversy also ignited passions among cisgender athletes. Some, like Emily, a soccer player from Connecticut, expressed support for their transgender teammates, arguing that everyone deserves a fair shot to compete. Emily, who had witnessed firsthand the discrimination her transgender friend faced, believed that inclusion made the world of sports a better place. Others, like Jessica, a swimmer from Florida, expressed concerns about fairness, echoing the arguments put forth by the Trump administration. Jessica, who had dedicated her life to her sport, worried that allowing transgender girls to compete would create an uneven playing field. She argued that biological differences gave transgender girls an unfair advantage, potentially jeopardizing the hard-earned achievements of cisgender female athletes. Section 7. Public opinion: a divided nation grapples with complex issues. The lawsuit against Maine ignited a firestorm of debate across the country, reflecting the deep divisions on LGBTQ+ rights, particularly regarding transgender athletes. Public opinion polls painted a complex and often contradictory picture. A February 2025 Reuters Ipsos poll revealed that a slim majority of Americans, 55%, opposed transgender athletes participating in girls' and women's K-12 sports, with only 26% in favor. The opposition intensified when it came to elite-level competition, with 65% opposing transgender women competing against cisgender women and a mere 19% supporting it. These numbers hinted at a general discomfort with the idea of transgender women competing against cisgender women, fueled by concerns about fairness and a lack of understanding about transgender identities. However, the poll also revealed nuanced perspectives. Support for transgender athletes was significantly higher among younger Americans, with those aged 18 to 29 expressing greater acceptance of transgender participation in sports. This generational divide suggested that attitudes towards transgender people were evolving, with younger generations showing more tolerance and understanding. Furthermore, the poll found that a significant portion of the population remained undecided on the issue, indicating a lack of clear consensus and a need for further dialogue and education. The complexity of the issue, often framed in binary terms by opposing sides, left many Americans grappling with questions of fairness, inclusion, and the evolving understanding of gender identity. Section 8. Beyond Maine. The transgender athlete debate ignites a national firestorm. The lawsuit against Maine served as a catalyst, igniting similar legal challenges and legislative battles across the country. Attorney General Bondi, emboldened by the Trump administration's stance, set her sights on other states with inclusive policies for transgender athletes. California and Minnesota, both known for their progressive stances on LGBTQ+ rights, found themselves in Bondi's crosshairs. Bondi warned that these states could face similar lawsuits if they didn't revise their policies to align with the administration's interpretation of Title IX. Her threats sent shockwaves through state legislatures and stoked fears within the LGBTQ+ community that the hard-fought progress on transgender rights was under attack. Meanwhile, states like Idaho, which had already enacted a restrictive law banning transgender girls from competing in girls' sports in 2020, doubled down on their discriminatory policies. Emboldened by the Trump administration's stance, conservative lawmakers in several other states introduced similar bills, aiming to restrict the rights of transgender athletes. The national debate intensified, with advocacy groups on both sides of the issue mobilizing their supporters and pouring resources into legal challenges and lobbying efforts. The battle lines were drawn, setting the stage for a protracted legal and political struggle over the rights of transgender athletes. Section 9. The future unfolds, a long road ahead for transgender rights. The lawsuit against Maine, a microcosm of the broader national debate, underscored the precarious state of transgender rights in the United States. While the legal battle over transgender athletes in sports raged on, its outcome remained uncertain. The Trump administration's aggressive stance had emboldened conservative forces across the country, leading to a surge in discriminatory legislation and a chilling effect on the lives of transgender Americans. Yet, amidst the uncertainty and fear, glimmers of hope emerged. The unwavering resistance of states like Maine, coupled with the growing chorus of voices demanding equality and inclusion, demonstrated the power of collective action and the enduring belief in a more just society. The fight for transgender rights, though fraught with challenges, was far from over. The lawsuit against Maine served as a stark reminder that the pursuit of equality is a continuous journey, demanding constant vigilance, unwavering advocacy, and a willingness to challenge the status quo. The future of transgender rights in the United States remained uncertain, but one thing was clear: the fight for inclusion and justice would continue, fueled by the courage and resilience of transgender people and their allies.